John Wick is back in John Wick 4. Once again, directed by Chris Staleski. This is the fourth installment in the John Wick franchise. Will it be the last? Yes? No? Maybe John Wick 5? John Wick 6? Is it going to be another Matrix? Whatever. Anyway, we're going to talk about John Wick 4 on this episode of That Guy Talks Movies. But first, if you are joining me for the first time and somehow you made it to this page, somehow the algorithm saw fit to find its way to allow this video for you to see it, and you haven't subscribed and you like movies and people who talk about movies, even if they're not consistent with it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I truly appreciate that for the people who stick with me, for the people who put up with my brief absences every now and then and who still get to check out these videos. I really appreciate you watching. I appreciate your comments and I appreciate your likes. Let's get into it. Right off the bat, this is a John Wick movie. We've got the usual cast of characters back. We got John, Jonathan, Mr. Wick, the Baba Yaga is back. We've got, Ian McShane, and we've got Lawrence Fishburne, and we've got the late Lance Reddick, and rest in peace, my brother. He was a very, very talented actor. I was very sad to hear that news last week when he passed away. He was only 60 years old and had quite a body of work. Notably The Wire, of course. And it was just really sad. And so the film opens up with, in memory of Lance Reddick. So, he's there. We've got Donnie Yen is back in this as another blind role for Donnie Yen where he plays it blind, whatever. This is a good film. Here's how I look at the John Wick movies. All right. I'm going to make this kind of short and to the point without any spoilers. All right. Just talk about the film. All right. From a story perspective, if you remember the last one, he's shot by Winston and at the New York building, Continental, and he, lands off a building, what appears to be like a death, he would have been dead by any means, whatever. We'll get into that in a minute. But, this opens up, he's got to go, he's in Morocco, he goes to Berlin, this kind of takes him all over the place in this film. He's in multiple countries. So again, Japan, Morocco, Japan, Berlin, Paris, and New York City, of course, is the backdrop, for, the Continental and such, and Winston. Anyway, I'm rambling, but John is now against the high table. So it's kind of like everyone's after him and he's going to go up against the high table. And that's pretty much the plot for this movie. He's going to go through a series of events and different things and people and whatever coming after him in order for him to ultimately get to that point. So again, no spoilers, but let's just talk about in general, my experience with this film. The silliness of the John Wick movies, right? As far as the action, and I don't mean how the action is executed. I in no way mean how Chris Staleski is directing or how it's shot. I think they're beautifully shot. I think the action sequences and the stunts and the choreography and how that's all put together, the action scenes are really well done. I think it comes down to the silliness of this one man, right? And the ability for him to fight off whatever. It's kind of like at this point you could put John Wick surrounded by 50 people all in a circle, a perfect circle surrounding John Wick. They could all have bazookas and there could be a helicopter above him and there's a bazooka pointed down at him. And then from each building, there are sharpshooters with rifles pointed right at him, all in a scope. And he's got 100 red dots, right? With people scoping him out with AK-47s all surrounding the other circle, right? And somehow he would still fight his way through all of that, the people in the helicopter, all the snipers, all the sharpshooters, and nobody would shoot him. So when I talk about the silliness, that's what I want to talk about. And it's been like that since the first one, but the first one, which I still believe is the best in the franchise, hands down, a classic film. The story there, right? The puppy, the whole thing, his wife passing, him getting through that, these people coming in and destroying his home, his puppy and all that. I mean, you felt the anger of this guy and the love and the love between a dog. There was just a lot going on there that had story and heart. So all the action, you wanted to see him win. You wanted to see him get through this. And it was what it was. The second one, it's the action thing again, right? It's like, how many people are going to fight John Wick? Everyone's after him. You learn about that whole world, that whole underground and the high table. You learn about different characters and you learn about the politics revolving around it all. So it's an interesting film from that perspective, plus the action, plus it looked good, right? The third one, same thing. You learned a little bit more, not as much as you did in the second one, but you learned a little bit more. You got more as John goes deeper into this world and things happen and there's twists and turns. And again, it's the action that keeps the whole thing going. That's most of what drives these movies. Now, with the fourth one, you get pretty much the same thing. Now he's against the high table, so he's got to get from point A to point B. He's got a couple of things he's got to do to get through. He's got to survive. And watching John Wick go through all these people is what the movie really is. And we're rooting for him. And my experience watching it, it's like you're watching someone play a video game, right? Or you're watching At other times, you're watching a long form music video. It's artistically done. It's a long form music video. And the main protagonist in that, or the main character in the video game, okay, if we take it from that perspective, is just going to go through all these series of events and bosses, and is barely, and his health meter just continues to go, goes down and then it goes back up. It goes down, it goes back up, right? That's kind of what this is. So you sort of forgive the ridiculousness of some of the situations that he finds himself in and some of the things that happens to him, like the way he's beat up and some of the circumstances of like how he like in the end of the third one, being shot and landing off a building and hitting a piece of metal on the way down and then landing on his back, like barely has a limp, yet he must have broken his back. And I don't know. I know the suits are like made, they're Kevlar and all that. I got to get one of those, by the way. This doesn't have Kevlar, but I know that protects him from bullets, right? So you learn that, I guess. I think it's in the second one you learn that, the suits are made a certain way and they're weaved a certain way, so they kind of repel bullets. But that brings me to another point. Why is no one taking a headshot at this guy, right? In all these films, no one has thought to shoot him in the neck or the head, or somehow he magically dodges them. At this point, with that much gunfire and that many people, that many assailants coming after him and determined to kill him, and some of them are quite good, you would think that by accident he'd have got a headshot by now. Like he'd have been shot in the eye or shot in the head. Just by accident it should have happened. I'll tell you a quick thing. There's a movie called Snatch, one of Guy Ritchie's like best films. It's the second film after Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. And in that film, there's a character played, what's his name? The rugby player. Anyway, his name is Bullet Tooth Tony in the movie. And the legend goes, and the story's even being told in the movie, how Bullet Tooth Tony apparently is impossible to kill. He got shot 6 times one time in one sitting. Some point in the movie, Avi, played by the late, oh my God, I'm forgetting names. Dennis Farina, winds up shooting at a dog, like blindly, like he's not even looking where he's shooting. He's just like shooting around like wildly. And somehow it turns out he shot Bullet Tooth Tony dead. The point of all this is that just purely by accident, Bullet Tooth Tony got killed in that particular scene. So in this, I look at John Legend like no one's deliberately shooting him in the head. Because he's certainly deliberately shooting people in the head. And no one by accident has caught him in the head. Because you can't protect that. He's not wearing a helmet. I just find it interesting. The other thing that I couldn't help think about when I watched this film in particular was as the price goes up on Johnny Wick's head, you have all these people out there, right? And there's one particular scene that really stirred this for me, that made me think of this. How do you know who actually killed him? So if you've got 40 guys in one scene all taking shots at him and they're all like having these little like one-on-one battles and such, I can almost imagine like if they did pop him in the head, right? If one guy got him and all of a sudden John Wick, you see bullet and you see his brains blow out or something like that. How many of those guys, but that was me. That's mine. That's my bullet. I did it. No, that was me. That was my bullet. Like you could see them fighting because how would they know who actually popped him in the head? I thought that was interesting. Did anyone else think about that? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, apparently he's just, indestructible. And it brings me back to the point that in the John Wick films, we tolerate that. We forgive it because it's John Wick. We want to see him go through and do what he's doing. And at this point, our thrill ride is more about rooting for this guy to make it through in spite of the odds being, stacked way against him. And we want to see the cool suit and all that stuff and him do his thing and how many ways he can maim people and kill people. And I love, one of the things I've always enjoyed is when he kills people and he's in a battle with somebody, like he always takes the time to make sure like that they're dead, the headshot, right? So it's like he'll reload and pop one right in the head, even when the guy's like pretty much done. I really like that. I find it interesting sometimes that it does play like a Steven Seagal seminar. You ever see these Steven Seagal exhibitions where he's standing there in his robe and his big black beard and, people will come after him and he'll gently move and do his Aikido and he'll like take everyone out. But it's just like 10 guys standing around waiting their turn. This is kind of have those moments where you've got all these people where it's convenient for him to have one-on-one fights, but there's still 6 other people around him that could be shooting him at that very moment that his attention is on the one guy. But anyway, I don't want to get too far into it. My point is, as crazy as some of the shit is and unbelievable as it is, it's still enjoyable. And I think you will like it in the theater. I think you should definitely see it in the theater. If you're a fan of the John Wick films in general, there's no reason. I mean, you probably already know that and you're probably already headed to the theater. In addition to that, I think if you don't make it to the theater and you see this at home and you see this you have a really good home setup, it looks good. It's colorful. Again, it's shot. I love some of the cinematography in these films, and I don't think they've ever been nominated. And I think I felt like from the second one in particular, it should have been nominated for cinematography, but hasn't been. Anyway, let me know if you're a John Wick fan. Let me know what you think. If you think I'm crazy about the whole, like, some of the situations are kind of ridiculous. Like, what do you think about that? In the comments below. If you like this video, hit like. I really appreciate that. And I will see you on the next one. Again, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And again, rest in peace to Lance Reddick. That was a blow. That really sucked. Anyway, John Wick 4. That's it. That Guy Talks Movies. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.